how are people going to hear it? And it has to be validated by being something that they hear and see, and it's not just old Uncle Bill,
right?
Sitting in the kitchen playing that music that we're a little bit embarrassed for people to know we listen to.
Right.
And you go to other cultures and other countries, and there's a lot of pride in their traditional music. And here, we don't see it, we don't hear it, and where we do, we're ashamed of it because nobody out there in the world says this is good.
Yeah.
And we've been criticized. Augusta's been criticized by people in our area who don't want their kids hearing banjos and fiddle tunes, and because they think that people are going to laugh at us if we play that.
Really? I mean, you've heard that?
Of course.
That's just... It's odd to me because I live in a different culture that simply, has commodified that music to some degree and buys it and says this is great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I come out of a culture... I know I don't come out of a culture in which that music is seen as a backward representation of your own culture, which I guess people would be sensitive about. New York City. I come from a culture that buys this music.
But that's not the music of their culture.
Of course not.
I'm talking about within the culture.
Oh, I see. And those, you're right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And those are folks who say.
And I've seen this. I was very close friends with Dewey Balfa.
Right.
And Dewey told me in 1983 how he had to struggle when he went home from Newport. What a living hell his life was.
Interesting. I mean, I've heard
because his people were so resentful that he had opened the window and let the world see the music that they made privately for themselves, because they felt sure that everybody was laughing at them.
Right.
That old chanka-chank music.
Yeah.
And there still was, until Dewey and other people started the what was it called?
I know what you mean.
Franco.
Yeah, it was the ennoblement organization, the promotion of Cajun culture.
The promotion of the Cajun language.
I know the organization, yeah.
Dewey and every other person of his generation would tell me that they would go to school, and when they started school, they didn't speak any English. And they would go to school, and the teacher would hit their hand with a ruler, or hit them on the head with a ruler, if they spoke French. And they were made to be ashamed of it. And this is not, hundreds of years ago. This is recently.
Right.
And so it's only been in the last 20 or 30 years, 20 years or less, down there, that all of a sudden now younger people are not only not ashamed of being Cajun, but are very proud of it, are going back and learning the French. And the kids in school are learning French, and little kids are going up forming bands and playing out for money everywhere all over the country and getting on the Today Show and things like that. And why? Because it's been validated by people from the outside looking at it and saying, this is great. And oh, okay. Well, we always knew it was great, but you thought it was
an indication of backwardness.
Backward.
Yeah.
Yes. That has not happened yet with old-time music. Even though old-time music thrives and everybody loves it here, people still feel as though by promoting old-time music and flat-footing as an image, it creates a sense of backwardness. And it couldn't be farther from the truth. I mean, it's the most, it should be that it's the most forward-looking, most hip thing about our state. and yet, and I'm sure this is true in Tennessee and Kentucky and North Carolina and South Carolina, you know, I don't think it's a West Virginia issue. I just feel as though there's been a kind of a public perception of this as being something that is not the greatest thing that's come out of our area. And so, how do we reverse that? Well, I think we hope for some musicians, some group to come along that just captures the public's imagination and creates a new audience, and that audience is able to really see it and value it for what it is.
Now, do you think that's something akin to what the Ramblers did in the 50s and 60s?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Would that be because what you're talking about, old-time music, how that recognition and pride hasn't established yet? I'm wondering if that's not because what we're referring to here, or I think we're referring to as old-time music, is predominantly an Anglo music. The dominant culture is Anglo, and that dominant culture tends to more readily valorize things from minority cultures that attract their attention, such as Cajun music.
This is a minority culture.
Okay.
It's the last minority culture that it's politically correct to ignore and demean.
All right.
And Southern rural culture is an unappreciated, undervalued minority culture within the great homogenized American culture.
Right.
And it's the only group, minority group, or cultural group that is still politically correct to make fun of or mock or deny.
Sure.
And I'm an outsider to that culture. I'm not from this culture.
Where are you from, by the way?
New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
I'm an outsider to the culture. But I see the pain and to hear the pain all the time of the people who realize that that this culture, this accent, this wonderful dialect, this wonderful rich heritage is something that people feel is not appreciated and is laughed at. And that's exactly where the Cajun culture was 20 years ago.
Right.
But, you know, I'm not adopting this culture. I'm not, a born-again Appalachian. I live in West Virginia and appreciate Appalachia and love it.
Right.
But there's plenty of rich culture here and quote-unquote native speakers.
Right.
People who are within this culture are very verbal, very vocal, can be are wonderful spokespeople for it. But they're not being heard and they're not being seen. And when we have a program like Augusta and people come here to learn traditional music and dance, we've almost had to create a situation where we have we try to be fair-minded and open-minded and have people who people are well-known and people who weren't well-known before we hired them.
Right.
And so that we have critical mass of the people who are really good and are out there performing and are out there selling themselves to an audience and creating lots of excitement, and they're pulling people in. But when they get here, they will hear and be exposed to somebody who maybe doesn't travel because he's got a full-time job as an engineer, or something. But he's a master of this music, and they will hear him, meet him, appreciate him, and that creates, the mixture that works for us.
Right.
And even creates, a new star in this, not star, a new, there's a tremendous amount of interest then in that person, and then the next time they show up at a fiddler's convention or a festival, the people from New York or California see and hear them. It's like, oh yeah, that guy, oh he's great, and things like Clifftop help, and Mount Airy, and all of these gatherings that pull people together, not to compete so much as to, join together in a gathering together. So they're the new heroes of traditional music, who maybe 20 years ago were not known outside their area, and that happens some due to, I'm not saying just due to Augusta, but Ashokan and Pine Woods and Brasstown and all of these programs which do this.
Right. Do you think it takes, kind of sophisticated organizations such as Augusta to help get these things rolling, this recognition rolling in pockets around the country? I guess, I'm answering my own question.
Well, not so much anymore, because now there's so much on the internet, that can be more accessible. I think if people are looking for it, they'll find it more. And people like Dwight Diller, who is now teaching and playing music full time, and 10 years ago that wouldn't have been possible. There are very, very few old-time bands that play music full-time. There are hardly any, and that is the sad thing, because people just can't afford it. There aren't enough venues, there aren't enough gigs, and there aren't enough agents who are able to help them and willing to.
Right.
So that's a stumbling block right now, but I'm sure that will reverse itself.
Do you have a few more minutes? I just
Sure.
conscious of your time, but there's a situation that I went to a great, I don't know if it was a workshop per se. I went to a great presentation on Saturday, and it was just about ethnic traditions that are alive and well in Cleveland, and it had 5 locals there, including the publisher of The Plain Dealer, who's a musician and belongs to an amateur society, which he's been active in for 25 years. And one woman showed just a homemade, low-quality video of people singing Croatian songs, I think it was, in a home, at a luncheon. It was all women, and she had made this herself. And it was great. It was just wonderful. But of course, and I'm glad that the Alliance went out and put this together. The local committee obviously found these people, but it struck me, and it has struck me before, that you get very few really ground-level arts organizations among people who simply work within their community, doing stuff for themselves, that get themselves within the Alliance's orbit. I guess when the Alliance... And I wonder if you have any thoughts about that, whether it matters.
This is one of the reasons that the other side of the Augusta Heritage Center that most people don't see or know about, probably about half of our time and half of our activity is involved in local traditions, strictly limited to West Virginia, because you can do more in a small area instead of we made a conscious decision when we first started producing and selling recordings. As much as we like the idea of, people whose recordings I know would have sold a lot, and we would have made a lot of money if we had put out the recordings, came to us and said, I would really like my recording to be on the Augusta label.
Mm-hmm.
We had to make a decision and say no, that we were going to concentrate our activities on obscure traditional music that is endangered.
Right.
And for the most part, it is the older traditional musicians that we are recording and getting out into the hands of the public, because they're the people who everyone wants to learn from. And why produce the people who learned from them when they're still around?
Right.
And almost none of our recordings are from archival field recordings. Most of them are people who are still very much alive.
Yeah.
And so it's been amazing for somebody who thought, who never won a fiddle contest because his style is very obscure and, crooked and just completely the antithesis of what a fiddle contest is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And to see what that does and how that validates him, having his own recording and signing his autograph, his name on people's LPs when they bought them. And that's one of the things that we do. The other thing that we do is we actively do field work, not just music, but oral histories and documenting folk art, vernacular architecture, and folk traditions, folk medicine, all of those kinds of things. And we record them for posterity and produce video documentaries from those. And it's all local. And it doesn't take a lot of startup money to do that, and everybody could do it in their locale. There are people all over the country that are putting on 1 week, 2 week, 3 week camps of traditional music. If they would take that money that they generate from that and put it back into the culture of their area, or the culture of the things that are surrounding them, this would be a whole different world, because everybody, people are dying. And when one of these old people who grew up with the old ways dies, so I can't remember the exact quote, but it's like a library burning down. Someone who grew up pre-radio, pre-television, in Vermont, in Arizona, in the state of Washington. Doesn't have to be in Appalachia.
Right.
That should be our concentration, because when they're gone, they're gone. And they're not passing it on necessarily to their own community or to their own children or grandchildren. So those of us whose ears are now finally tuned to the value of that need to be down there. Or if we have Native American or first generation Jewish immigrant or French Canadian, and living relatives who came over from the old country and remember very vividly what traditions were like in their childhood. We should all be out there recording them. Right. Everybody should go right out and get a Marantz and record their dad and their grandfather and the old lady across the street who's, or go into a nursing home.
Sure.
Everyone should be doing that.
Now, we talked a little about this in the exhibit hall, but does Augusta have an orientation, or at least an interest in kids, in getting kids?
Oh, it's our major thrust.
Okay.
It is our absolutely major thrust. We are putting all of our fundraising efforts into that. When we solicit contributions, the first thing we say is this contribution for a youth scholarship? We have two categories: youth scholarship, and then a very small print other.
Right.
Because this is also an endangered species. The old people are endangered because they're going to be gone. The young people are endangered because they're growing up without seeing or hearing it. And someone in the middle age area, we don't realize, that they grew up listening to the Grand Ole Opry and listening to old-time music on the radio. And now there's almost none. There's really very, very little. And even the old early country music, now is country music has evolved and expanded, and it's growing up with that is not the same thing. Very disturbing to me when they have a talent show here locally in our area. You go, and it's all karaoke.
Oh, really?
The kids get up there, and they're great singers. They've been listening to country music all their lives. There is fantastic talent in our state, in our town. There are kids who could be in Nashville right now, but they have never held an instrument in their hands, and there's nobody playing that music. They buy recordings and dub in the voice.
Yeah.
And this is found. You'll find this all over the country, I'm sure. So how do we get kids who encourage kids who have heard and they're set on fire by it? It used to be that there were only a few. You would go to something like Mount Airy, and there'd be, a kid or two. Well, now all the children of the people who've been going to that for years have grown up. They all play music. They're all in bands, and that's wonderful. I went to a festival in Louisiana a couple of years ago where I saw an idea happening that I thought we've got to do this all over the country. This was a festival at Kadian in Lafayette.
Okay.
That year, they invited their usual 10 or 20 bands. I don't know how many played at that festival. It's a lot. It's a large festival. And each band was asked to bring a kid, a young person who was a protege or an admirer or a friend or a relative or a student of someone in the band, and have them get up and play a few tunes with them. Every single band did it. And that was about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Every single one of those kids is now a professional musician, playing out, has their own band, has their own CD, every one of them.
Really?
Now, why couldn't we all do that?
Right.
It costs money. I mean, you're putting up one more person, you're feeding one more person, even if you're not paying them. And sometimes you're flying that person here.
Right.
But if we all did that, that next generation is going to get there, and they're going to say, wow, Uncle so-and-so's really famous. I didn't know that.
Right.
He was just Uncle so-and-so to them. But here he is, and all these people are in the audience applauding him. Do you know what that does to his perception?
Sure.
And it validates it. So we've been doing that as much as we possibly can. The other thing we do with our youth scholarships, someone in our field will say to me, there's this young kid, he is brilliant, he's learning as fast as I can teach him, he just needs to be around more people to see more about what this is like, and I think he would learn a lot from being at Augusta.
Yeah.
I'll raise the money for tuition for that kid, and they come here. In many cases, within 2 years, they're teaching here. Many, many of them are on staff or in a support staff capacity, or as a backup accompanist, or even the person who runs a copying machine and makes their coffee. But they're working at it. They're working in an environment, and they're now professional staff. And they are, totally nurtured. And by this, they make connections, they make contacts, they get gigs, they sell their CDs, and they go back a changed person.
Right.
I've got 2 people now who are teachers in economically deprived areas who have bluegrass clubs, who are raising half the tuition, bringing their whole little bluegrass band with them, high school age kids. They raise half the tuition. We raise half the tuition, and they bring the kids here. And the kids' stories are sometimes heartbreaking, and how little they've seen, how few places they've been, and how much this means to them. You can't imagine. And we're certainly not the only ones doing it.
Right.
But I would love to see this spread like wildfire all over the country. It's last year we received, I think, about $13,000 just in individual donations and contributions by individual people. Some of them were our own instructors who actually turned over their salaries plus for this. And some of them were from people who didn't even know us. One person saw a story on CNN about one of our youth scholarship kids, Jake Crack, and called and said, I want to get some money for this program. And we also have an apprenticeship program within the state of West Virginia. There's an old master fiddler. There's a young person who's learning to play the fiddle in his town or the neighboring town. We pay the old master to teach the young person.
Right.
It's not just music. It's crafts, herb medicine, all kinds of things. But that's a program that we struggle to raise money for. But it's so worthwhile and valuable. And to see the joy on the face of this man who makes white oak baskets, and he knows that when he's gone, his apprentice is going to keep going and teach someone else. And it's not easy and it's not cheap, but I would love to see more organizations, instead of making their festival bigger, fancier, instead of making their festival, their dance weekend, more better advertised, or whatever it is that they might spend money on now that they might not have to, that some of that money could be put into sustaining the culture around them right in their own area.
Right.
There's old-time music in Ohio. There's old-time music in Illinois. There's old-time music in Wisconsin. It's all over the country. And those old-time musicians, the older people, should have apprentices, and those apprentices should be brought to events. Every single person who goes to the Folk Alliance, if they can, if they drive, if they can squeeze a kid, a high school-age kid or a college-age kid, into their car and just take them there, the Folk Alliance should have a pool of money or a number of scholarships just for youth. And that child, that young person, all they have to do is find a place to stay and something to eat. And they should be able to get in there and be exposed to all these different kinds of people.
Right.
And everyone who goes to a fiddler's convention or a festival, if they took one youngster, it would change the face of this music. That's my soapbox talk.
That's great. I mean, that's good.
I'm really committed to it because I see it in action, and I really believe it. There was a young lady who came here. She was about 15. I mean, she didn't even know a musician to recommend her. We got letters, and this is really not the way we do it. We insist that the child be recommended by a peer. But this kid didn't have any peers. Her mother knew a musician who had told her about Augusta, and she wrote to me, her grandmother rather, and she got the child's teacher and the minister and 3 other people in the community to say, this kid is a sponge, soaking up whatever she sees and hears. Any instrument she touches, she can pick up and play. And the family lives in total isolation, 3 generations, way up a hollow, no car, no phone. And they're playing out wherever they can. And we brought the youngster here and the grandmother so that she could, keep an eye on her and raise the money to have her take a class. And she just absorbed it like, every last thing, everything around her absorbed it, and went back and taught her little brother everything she had learned. And then a woman from New York who was here saw this West Virginia kid and met her and was impressed with her and just sent me the money for her tuition. The kid didn't even apply yet. And this woman had said, I want you to give this money to so-and-so so that she can come back next year. And if she needs room and board money, get back to me. And that's the kind of thing that's going to make a big difference in people's lives. So, can that happen through the Folk Alliance? Well, it can happen through any means. It can happen through you writing about it, us talking about it.
Sure.
And I really believe that little pebble dropped in the water makes rings that you can't even imagine. And Dewey Balfour believed this, and Melvin Wine believes it, and all of the most well-known people in our field, the older people, all make sure that they bring their protégés with them somewhere, even if it's just to carry their instrument case. But they know that they're going to, in turn, just be set on fire by all that they see and hear around them. Dewey brought Steve Riley with him when Steve was 16.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I need my backup person here.
Brought him where, to Augusta?
To Augusta.
Okay. Uh-huh.
We were like, oh my gosh, can we afford it? Flying 2 people out from Louisiana, that's a lot of money, Well, what happened to Steve Riley after that?
Right.
And of course, not from being here, but it was a combination of all of that. Getting out of there and seeing the respect that everyone had for his mentor. When we had...
Of course, you know that there are some who are horrified about some of the things Steve Riley has done, and are horrified that they're...
I wouldn't say that on the record.
Okay, well...
I'd rather not.
All right, I'm saying it, and I want...
Let's say...
I know it to be true. You don't have to say it. I know it to be true, but I'm just wondering...
let's say Peter Schwartz.
Okay.
And Dewey brought Peter here the very next year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And said...
well, Peter's played on the same records. I mean, some of those...
and that's that.
Yeah.
No argument. You want me, you have to take him.
Right.
And Peter is, of course, everyone knows. Buddy McMaster.
Right.
Buddy McMaster taught here. Is there any way I could bring my niece? She'll drive with us. She'll crash in someone's room. Don't worry about her. If you just give her meals, she'll do whatever you want.
Right.
And it was Natalie.
Sure.
It was Natalie. Natalie was 14 or 15, and people were agape. I had pictures of people standing with their mouths open or watching her play and just saying, "Oh my God." And that's what, if they don't ask, we need to ask them.
Sure.
who plays with you, who works with you? Is there some younger person that you know, that hangs out with you and is learning from you? Bring them along. Bring them with you. Put it in your budget. It's not going to cost you that much more. And look what everyone's going to get out of it. And it's so inspiring. Although I will say it's really hard on the older people in those classes when they see these young kids who are picking up so fast. And I'm 45 struggling along trying to learn to play the fiddle. It's damn frustrating.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's really inspiring. Well, I have to say I really have to go pretty soon.
I understand. Can I ask you one quick...
Yeah.
All this said, you wrote in an email to me that you wish the Alliance had the guts to make a statement early on that would at least educate people as to the meaning of folk music, and you were talking about... Does it matter? Does the word matter? Does the lack of a definition in the Alliance matter?
I changed my mind. I think that if there had been a narrowing of the focus, it would never have achieved the strength of the organizational strength that it has. And as long as there are people like Angelo,
right,
and Pierre, and Phyllis involved with it, as long as those people, and Tony Seeger, as long as those people will remain committed to it and see the forest for the trees, then it's always going to perform a valuable service for those of us for whom traditional music and dance is a passion. It's just, if we let it go and we walk away and we drop it, that's our fault and that's our problem.
That's the last I have. Did you have anything you wanted to ask me or say, or I know you've got...
No, but you had said that you were hoping that you might put in more of a component in the book about this youth emphasis, and if you did, I have a lot more to tell you.
Okay,
fill you in on.
Well, let's connect on that. It can be down the line. I do. It's a real concern of mine that I talk about what's going to happen, where's it going to go, and are people going to be around?
I can give you pictures, names of kids to interview.
Oh, wonderful.
I can give you details. I can give you copies of the letters, these heartwarming, heartbreaking letters that these kids write about what they learned here.
That's invaluable, and I really am interested in that, and the reason I stress that is because if I'm not sending you an email about it in a month or 2 months or 3 months, this is this is a big job for me, and I have other things to do, and I don't see anything completed for a year to two, and how those things go. So it may be 6 months or 8 months. My wife says to me, "When are you going to stop taping people, and how can you even transcribe all this stuff?" Which I do really slowly.
On it. That's all that matters.
I'm taping and I'm transcribing simultaneously. I'm certainly not letting it all.
And I certainly hope that I've given you a little bit more of a positive insight on the role that Elaine took in this whole thing. Because I feel as though people who weren't there don't know.
I have to tell you, most people have given me a positive insight into her contributions. I've heard words like dynamic and vision from a lot of people. A lot of people find her irritating.
Doesn't get the nuts and bolts of the work done.
Right. And I don't think I didn't get that. I think Elaine, and I don't know her, so this isn't my remark, and I'm not going to attribute it to anyone. I think a lot of people just feel that Elaine's a great starter, and then if she doesn't get out of the way, there's personality aspects that are going to interfere with too many other people's ability to stay involved. Yeah,
that's probably it. When you're used to being the lone, the person who does it all and everybody just follows, it's hard to change to a more inclusive style of management.
Right. That's been the thrust of what I've heard about her. Great organizer, great vision. She had to get out of the way because people just said, "I can't work with this lady." Mm-hmm. And that's what I've heard from unnamed people, none of whom, by the way, I have no particular interest in even repeating that. It has nothing to do with I'm interested in cultural impacts.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
I like it. Well, I like what you have to say. I just take out any part where I've said a bunch of this, and
I will run. I told you that I would.
Keep me from
I told you I would run your quotes by you, and I'll stick to that. And I also said to you,
I just talk off the top of my head, and sometimes I don't like the way it comes out.
I don't want to go offering that willy-nilly because I'm interviewing too many people. As I said, it would shut me down if I needed to go through a final review by everybody. I wouldn't have a book. I'd never get a book. But if you asked,
that's fine.
Okay. Well, Margo, I appreciate it. I am real interested in this business about bringing youth along.
Great. Well, we have lots of documentation on details on it.
Great. Thank you.
And we're doing it on a national scale, so I have information that's relevant to any place in the country.
Archie Green said to me, don't make this a nostalgia fest. And that was because I first started talking to him about the revival of the 60s, and he said to me, we don't need another person writing about the revival of the 60s.
Oh, my God. You've got to put something in about one of the major events that created this whole thing, too.
Sure. What is it?
And it only happened once. It never happened again. But, it was called Sounds of the South.
Oh, yeah, I have the book. Yeah, I have the book that resulted from it, sure.
Well, the conference, which was where the only place I've ever run into Archie Green, and a lot of people, Highwood String Band and all of those early string bands were all there, and my God, there was an awful lot of connection that came out of that event.
Interesting.
That was a very, very helpful event because it brought together people who were historians and folklorists together with public sector folklorists, together with public sector presenters and musicians.
Right.
And there's no other event that ever happened at.
Yeah.
All these academic people were looking around and saying, oh, my. Well, it was kind of like the old time, it was sort of like what we thought the Folk Alliance would be like, only on a very regional, not regional, because Archie's from the West Coast, but it was focused around a particular focus, which was this sound archive, the old-time sound archive. And it was a very influential event.
Now, was there talk about that kind of when the Folk Alliance was getting underway? Was there some direct connection, or is it just sort of a precursor?
I can't remember which came first.
Okay, I think so.
But I have all my information from it.
Well, I have the conference book. I mean, they published a book of things that were delivered. I
have the packet of all the different things, the workshops and things.
Oh boy, I would love to see that. I would love to see that, because what I've got is, after the conference, they took formal papers that were delivered or written in connection with it.
Oh, but that's hardly any of what really went
they published it as a book.
Talk to Mike Casey.
Okay, he's with you?
Mike Casey.
I don't know Mike Casey.
Was working in the archive there at Chapel Hill.
Right.
Okay. He now lives in Asheville, and he's in a band called Kukanandi with Malky Rosenfeld.
Okay.
And one other person I can find his phone number for you, but I have to run right now.
Okay. Margo, thank you for this hour and a half.
Okay.
It's a lot of time. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.